It is 1 o'clock p.m. here on Thursday, December 19th. Yes. And I unrolled another bale of hay. This time I went quick when I unrolled it. And so it came apart thick. I'm noticing that with the bales, when I stick those spikes in with the bale unroller, I can kind of just like pull it out and jam it in using momentum. You just kind of pull it back and then try to quickly go in. And if you keep pulling it out and thrusting it in like that, it kind of creates a hole where the spike can stick in. The other thing too is you don't need to have the spikes all the way in to make it work. And it doesn't need to be centered. It just needs to be close. And so today the bale was completely cockeyed, but it worked anyway. And I think it unrolled a little better because it wasn't unrolling smoothly. It was like bouncing. As it bounced, it like shed a bunch of hay. Make this nice little deep row. Exactly where I wanted the hay. So tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow, the day after, on Saturday evening, Saturday's gonna be a busy day for me. I plan on moving the sheep all around and playing musical chairs. But Saturday afternoon, I'm gonna move them to a new row. So tomorrow I'm gonna unroll one more bale of hay. That'll be 6 bales a week. I think it's time to sell the calves. I'm gonna sell number 24. That's number 24 there. And I'm gonna sell Patches. I think Patches is here. Yeah, it looks like Patches is here. I guess she just really likes hay. Get rid of those two animals. And I'll just sell them at the sale barn, unless you guys want them, which if you do, you have to let me know soon if you want these animals. I don't really have a good way of communicating with you guys. I'm thinking of starting an email list so I can email you guys like weekly updates, especially about like any animals that are ready for sale. Keep you guys in the loop. I think that's one of the best things we can do as farmers is just let each other know what we're doing and where we're at. So we can find, like if I knew what my 6 neighbors were doing, and they had a problem or they had, something they were going to sell, I can look at their stock and say, I'll take that cow. I want that cow, or something like that. Or I can even reach out and talk to them and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. If you did that, I can buy them from you. So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. That email list might be important to the marketing strategy. So I think I'll do that. The nice thing about the email list is I'm not going to use like MailChimp or anything like that. If you haven't been paying attention, the policies of these different companies, like I realized that Google's policy with advertising is that you can't reject any of the tenets of the climate change religion. If you don't fall perfectly in line with the quote unquote authoritative sources, then you cannot use Google to advertise or receive advertisements. So, they put us in the same category as pornographers and terrorists and stuff like that, all because we don't agree with people that have been caught lying and deceiving. Did you know just recently there was an article that came out that in the UK, hundreds of weather stations never even existed. They were reporting data for hundreds of weather stations that never even existed. And I keep thinking of putting together a video to explain why climate change is really stupid. The whole idea behind it is retarded. But it's just like one of those things. It's like everybody's stupid in a different way, Nobody agrees on what it actually is. If you try to pin them down to a statement or some like objective fact, which you can easily debunk any of the facts they stick to, they know that you're going to get them. The data doesn't support climate change. The science doesn't support it. Anybody with like a second year physics education looks at climate change askew because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. We know exactly what the properties of carbon dioxide are versus oxygen, nitrogen, water, everything else, methane. And we know for a fact that they aren't that different. And we know for a fact that these quote unquote greenhouse gases don't operate on the same principles that greenhouses operate. Not even close, right? Greenhouses operate because they cut off convection. They trap that air so it can't circulate. It can't rise naturally, right? And by doing that, the heat transfer method of convection, which, by the way, transfers a lot of heat to the other atmosphere, a ridiculous amount of heat. Radiation doesn't even compare. Radiation doesn't even enter into our calculations when we calculate how much heat transfer there is. Because it doesn't mean anything. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether that energy is transferred by radiation or convection, as long as it's transferred. But more importantly, we know that it's being transferred by convection, right? So anyway, so the greenhouse gases, they don't operate according to any principle that relates to greenhouses. Radiation is not a big factor in how heat is transferred inside of the Earth. The only time radiation matters is when you're talking about, heat transfer between like the moon and the Earth. They talk about average temperatures. They talk about average highs and average lows as if it means something. It doesn't mean anything. Those numbers don't have any physical significance. You can't write down any formula or any kind of expression or relationship that can allow you to predict those numbers, because they don't mean anything, right? The number that matters, the only thing that really matters is the temperature of the Earth. And there is a temperature of the Earth, and you can measure it. It's not hard, right? Of course, that temperature of the Earth doesn't really matter because we're not in space and we're not engaged in heat exchange with the Earth, right? It's just ridiculous. It's all ridiculous. Scientifically, experimentally, logically, it's just a bunch of nonsense. But if I don't toe that line, and if I don't tell everybody that I worship at the altar of climate change and I accept these liars who invent data and lie about it and manipulate data and lie about it, who won't publish the raw data. They won't give people the raw data, because then you'd know how they're manipulating the data and how their manipulations don't make any sense, right? So we're supposed to worship these people as high priests in the religion of climate change. We're supposed to offer sacrifices to them. Lately, they've been asking for us to murder our cows because cows produce methane and it's better to grow meat in labs. It's better to grow meat in labs. My goodness. What ridiculous ideas they have. I don't even know where to begin with that one. Here we are, we're creating pasture land. We're turning dirt into soil. We're, if you care about that sort of thing, I don't. We're capturing carbon from the atmosphere and we're burying it underground. We're creating life where there was no life before. And we're doing it using simple tools, barely using any diesel or fuel at all. Our major inputs are rain, sunshine, and carbon dioxide. And the cows live a natural life on pasture and as close to an environment as they possibly can, that we can reproduce to what they would be living in the wild. Of course, these animals haven't been wild for thousands of years, but as close to what those animals are adapted to, And we're, at the same time, the product that we're producing is going to save lives. It's going to improve health. It's going to eliminate certain diseases. I think when you look at their agenda, when you look at what they're doing and you evaluate it objectively, and you just list out the things that they want to do, the things they want to stop, and you look at that list and you go, oh my goodness, even Marvel comic book villains aren't that evil. There was a sketch, I think it was a Studio C sketch, or I don't know, it wasn't Studio C, but the premise of the sketch is that the evil guy actually wins and the superheroes lose. And the evil guy's like, now that I've won, I control America. I'm going to kill all the politicians, right? And all the heroes are like, what? wait, you're going to kill all these guys? And they're like, yeah, because those guys are bad. And the superhero's like, okay. And then they're like, well, and we're gonna end taxes, and all these things that the supervillain wants to do. Everybody's like, well, I kind of agree with that, and if you're going to be in charge, that might be better than what we currently have. There's people in prison because they went to a rally. They're political prisoners here in the U.S., and it breaks my heart to even think about it. I can barely talk about it without breaking up, but our country is so messed up, and the people in charge, I don't have to name who they are. You know who they are. They know what they're doing. It's not random chance. I think it was Mark Andreessen. He's like a major investor in startups, and I think he was one of the initial investors in Amazon. And his life mission has been, I want to create companies. I want to create wealth. I want to create jobs. And he did a pretty good job at it. But when he looked at the Biden administration, called him in and said, we're going to control AI. There's only going to be 4 companies that do AI. All the other companies are going to be banned. If anybody tries to start an AI project, we're going to shut it down unless it's from these 4 companies, right? And the government's going to regulate everything. They literally told him this, That's evil. That's evil. When you tell people they're not allowed to have opinions on things that's evil. When they're not allowed to express their opinions, that's evil, Freedom of speech isn't about getting ideas out there. It's about allowing people to share their ideas, no matter how stupid they are. You know what I mean? Let people talk. It does no harm. It's better to talk than to shoot each other. Anyway, guys, that's my opinion. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.